Welcome back. Through photos, words, and multimedia, the Bronx Documentary Center gives insight on the tumultuous relationship between America and Afghanistan with Urgency Afghanistan. Here to talk to us about the exhibition is Michael Kamber, founder and executive director for the Bronx Documentary Center, and Cynthia Rivera, exhibition manager for the Bronx Documentary Center. Thank you both for joining us.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having us.
So, Michael, you're no stranger to BronxNet, but for those who don't know, can you start off by briefly telling us about your organization, the Bronx Documentary Center?
Yeah, sure. We're a nonprofit. We teach photography and journalism to people all over the Bronx. We've been here for 10 years, and we've got a whole variety of classes for people between the ages of 11 up into, we've got seniors who are in the 80s who are taking classes from us. So we're here. We've got a location down here by the hub on 151st Street. And we've got a great photo library here. We've got a dark room and just all kinds of exhibitions. We do exhibitions all year round.
So, before we jump into talking about the exhibition, we're going to go back a little. I understand, Michael, you have some background working in Afghanistan. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how it brought you here today?
Yeah, sure. I started working in Afghanistan just after 9/11. I was originally working for the Village Voice, and I went immediately to Pakistan and then into Afghanistan as the Taliban was actually falling, or they were actually being defeated, and the Northern Alliance, which was supported by the Americans, took power. So that was 2001, and then later I was working for the New York Times, and I went back in, I think 2008, 2009, 2010. Through there, I made a number of trips.
So, Urgency Afghanistan is a photographic exhibition in progress at the Bronx Documentary Center that will showcase the work of several photojournalists who covered America's 20-year war. Cynthia, what can viewers expect to see when they walk in?
So when you first walk into the space, which is where Mike is sitting right now, to your right, you get the wall text, which is an explanation or a brief explanation of what happened over the past 20 years, which starts with the events of what happened in 2001. And then it briefly explains what happened during that time. And when you move to your left, there's a timeline across the entire top of the gallery on the left side of the wall. And it takes you from 1996 actually all the way up until August of 2021, and we've kept that kind of open so that we can continuously update as events and things happen throughout time. But basically from 1996 up until 2021, each year we give, obviously not every event, but we have these main events that have happened each year throughout the past 20 years. So it takes you through text throughout that timeline, and then on the wall underneath it, there are images, not from every single year, but there are images throughout that time that kind of show you what was happening visually during that time. And then in the middle of the room, which is directly behind Mike, there are two hanging panels, and those are actually the most recent events that happened, like after the Taliban took power again. So there are images behind Mike that are from August, and actually some from September, the very beginning of September. And then the panel that's in the back of the room is mostly June, July, and August. And then there's a corner of the room there's a projection, and you can hear the audio of a couple of photographers that Mike has interviewed more recently and in the past of their experiences being war photojournalists and their experience in Afghanistan because they've traveled there multiple times. So just what they've experienced being in war and then obviously being in that particular war.
So I think you mentioned it a little bit, but the Bronx Documentary Center's new series offers a real-time response to worldwide events. What is the process of quickly bringing all of these elements together to tell this story?
Well, we reached out to a number of people. We have a lot of friends in Afghanistan, both Afghans and Americans and European journalists that are working there. So we immediately reached out. We had wanted to do something around 9/11, and then when we saw the historic collapse of the country, America had a very abrupt withdrawal in August, and the country literally collapsed in about 10 days, which is really extraordinary from a historical point of view. And we thought we just got to do something. So we reached out to our friends who are photographers, and they immediately began to send us images through email. And we put the whole show together in a week. We didn't spend a lot of money. We just put it up with push pins. We printed it all in house and got it up on the wall with captions. And it's not a fancy exhibition, but it is really full of information and it looks great.
So you're also always finding ways to keep it innovative as well as interactive at times. So you will receive images from photographers currently in Afghanistan, like you mentioned, and will update the show in real time. Why did you want to include this feature to your show?
Well, I think a lot of museums plan their shows, sometimes 2 or 3 years in advance, and feel that it's critical that we can bring information to the Bronx community in real time. People should know what's happening right now. You can come in and see photos that were taken a couple of weeks ago, and that makes a huge difference. I mean, it will still be relevant in a number of years, but now is when we really need to be talking about these issues.
It's
So the
also, sorry, can I add one thing?
yeah.
I think it's also important for us to show like the accumulation of work throughout time. And obviously, these photos, a lot of them are images that have been in newspapers and in the New York Times or something that you see on TV. But it was important for us to have that all together in one room with all of the information that contextualizes what's happening. And since we're having it up for a longer period of time, for about like 2, 3 months, it gives people more time to sit with the work and fully understand and critically think for themselves as to what is happening, because it's not something that you really get to do when the news is happening so fast.
So the photographs included will cover the American invasion, Afghan women's struggle for civil rights, the current resurgence of the Taliban, and so much more. What do you hope people attending will take away from this?
Well, we find that especially a lot of young people don't have any memory of 9/11, and they know very little about the war in Afghanistan. Despite the fact that there are a lot of people from the Bronx who have actually served in the military in Afghanistan. And we're really hoping to give people a historical context and really to get some debate and some discussion going. We've got a number of public events around this. We just had an event the other night with Victor Blue. He's in Afghanistan now, and he did a Zoom with us, and we did an event that was a live event and is on YouTube. But we're hearing from somebody who's there out on the streets every day, and we feel like that's really valuable. We just want people to understand. I mean, this is a war that the American public spent trillions of dollars on. This war, we lost thousands and thousands of Americans were killed there, and a lot more Afghans were killed. And we should be having a discussion about this. It's a historic defeat, absolutely historic defeat for America. And there should be a public conversation about this. We shouldn't just forget about it.
So the exhibition opened on September 11th. What has the response been like from the community, especially on a day where we often tend to think of our own traumatic experience?
Do you want to answer that, Cynthia, or I will if you. Um, okay, I'll answer it. So I think I think I mean 9/11. It's just every year. It's such a tough anniversary for us. And I mean the firehouse, Engine 41, right on our corner. Lost 6 firefighters there. I mean there are a lot of people from our Bronx community that were killed on 9/11. So it's really a tough day. And I think in a way it was good to open the exhibition and be able to have people here and mark the anniversary, especially because it's the 20th anniversary of the attacks.
So, to start wrapping things up, I covered your Trump Revolution exhibition back in 2019, and it is very clear your center does not shy away from things that can be often hard to digest. Why is it important for you to tell these stories in their truest form, even if it's uncomfortable to face?
Well, I think, let's see. I mean, I think this is really the foundation of democracy is good journalism, documentary work where people can come together, look at work, have discussions with the artist, with the photographers. I think that's really what makes America great, is to confront history and discuss it and participate in it. That's part of our mission here. I don't know if Cynthia has anything to add to that.
And then it's very similar to what he was saying, but I think it's also for us, like the basis of what we do here is to the best of our ability in talking about the truth of what happens in all these different places and all these different conflicts. And a very big part of that truth are not things that are like happy or exciting to look at, but they are what keeps it as like this well-rounded story. And for us, that's what's most important in telling all aspects of the story. Like, it's not just happy things. There are very difficult struggles that a lot of people go through, and that a lot of, like in this case in the war, it's not something that we see every day, and it's something that here you can just like turn off the TV or not read the newspaper and you don't have to deal with it. And for us, it's really important to show that and to have those conversations here, because that's what this space is for. Because all in all, it does affect us because it affects the world and that affects us, and that's important for us to talk about.
How long will the exhibition be open, and how can people get more involved and support your organization?
So the exhibition is open until November on the 14th, and anyone can get more involved by going to our website at bronxdoc.org and going to our volunteers page. We have a lot of opportunities of volunteering for our events, volunteering for our library, which is a public library. And then there's also opportunities for being involved in photography in black and white. In our dark room, we have open lab hours. There are multiple opportunities just throughout the year.
All right. Well, Michael, Cynthia, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. It's our pleasure.
We'll be right back with more Open BXRX Tuesday.